Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the This is the Music Meets Podcast, an independent podcast show that's dedicated to introducing you to rising indie and alternative bands from across the UK and Ireland. If you are new to the podcast, then please hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any future episodes, and feel free to leave a comment as it really does help us beat the algorithms. It's now time for episode 116. And I'm delighted to be joined by fast-rising Bristol indie rockers, the Bedside Morale. Over the course of today's episode, we're going to discuss the band's debut EP, Still Life, Snakes, playing live, and their plans for the rest of 2024. So it is a very warm welcome to Tim Kazir. Thanks very much, Tim, for coming on the This is the Music Meets podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. It's a bit cooler this Sunday, which is quite nice because I'm up in the loft. So yeah, all good.
Yeah, it has as you said, there's obviously recording this on a Sunday. So yeah, how's your weekend been so far?
It's been nice. I spent it with some friends. We basically spent the whole of yesterday in the forest, which was really nice. So yeah, it's been a nice one.
Nice, good, lovely. And as you say, a little bit cooler as well, the last sort of couple of days compared to some of the warm weather that we have having. But hey, we shouldn't complain too much, right?
No, definitely not.
So before we come on to the debut EP, let's go right back to the very beginning. So how did you first get into music? Was there, like a particular band or sorry, a particular band's album, or maybe a song that you heard that you really got, that sort of was sort of, a starting point, I guess, really?
Um, I guess really going really right back. My earliest sort of things of music were um either long car journeys to visit grandparents with my parents, where they'd have, I think, more or less the same three CDs. It was Shania Twain. Is it You're the One? I think that's the name of the
Yeah.
album. The Cause and Dire Straits Best of. So those were the first sort of real musicians I latched onto because they were in fairly constant rotation. But the other place would be my parents are both sort of um, fairly sort of involved in their local Methodist church, and they were at that time part of the choir.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'd sort of sit there whilst they were doing choir practices, eating custard creams and listening to them. And I think there's a lot that sort of harmonies and things like that really sort of speak to me. And I sometimes wonder if that's where that was born, maybe.
Yeah, right. And are you still a lover of custard creams now?
Or well, vegan alternatives, but otherwise, yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so how then did the bedside morale sort of start? Because we've obviously been together sort of for quite a while before you started releasing music. So could you just give us a little bit of background into those sort of early beginnings, and maybe as well kind of like why did it take so long? Because I think I'm right in saying it's about 2014, right, that you got together.
Yeah, so I've known Charlie and Kynan for years and years, and we were in a couple of previous projects together. Very different musically, a lot more aggressive, a lot heavier. And I think you get artists who sort of seem to come out at like 13, 14, they're writing songs, they know exactly who they are, and then I've never been that sort of person. So I think it's taken a bit longer to find our footing and work out what we want to be. And I
Mhm.
think the bedside morale really feels like we found ourselves, we found our voice. So yeah, it's been a long road, but I think it's been a necessary road.
Right. Okay. Love that. Brilliant. So the debut EP, Still Life, came out at the end of July. It's truly fantastic. I love the four
Thank you.
tracks that are on it. And for those that haven't heard it, once this episode you got to the end of this episode, do go and check it out, and we'll put the link in the episode bio as well. So can you just tell the listeners then what inspired the EP, and can you just sort of take us through a little bit of the, like the creative process in terms of, writing and then eventually going on to record the EP?
Yeah, so a lot of these songs come from, I guess, my reflection on either um, observing things about seeing people go through their day-to-day lives, and I'm very good at romanticizing very simple, mundane things, um, or my own personal sort of life. So I think thematically and lyrically, a lot of the inspiration was drawn from that. But in terms of the music itself, it's a very collaborative process. There are some songs that I came to the table very much sort of fully formed. Safe Word, I think I'd spent an afternoon up here in the loft coming up with after watching, I think all the first three seasons of Skins, and being blown away that that's the sort of thing that I remember all of my teenage friends being obsessed with and like glorifying, and watching it back now and being like, that's awful. None of these people are healthy. Um, so that one was very fully formed when I brought it to the band. But songs like Yours Sincerely, Kynan had the bass part, and that was sort of a work in progress over a few practices. Um, Early Morning Sonnet was because I said I wanted something a bit more dancey in the album,
Mhm.
or the EP even.
Album's coming.
Yeah, hopefully that'd be nice. Very short album at the moment. So that was I was coming together to sort of try and fill that need that I felt I had. And Bitter Things, hilariously, I think me and Charlie came up with the sort of basics of whilst recording Safe Words. So um, creatively, it's been at odd moments, but I think anyone who makes music will tell you that you can't plan to create. It'll just sort of appear when you least want it.
Sure. And in terms of recording it, I'm assuming you obviously went off to a studio to get that done. So sort of, firstly, where did you go for that? And also as well, you were saying there obviously, about the practicing and of getting the songs how you wanted them. Were you quite open when working with the producer to change any parts of it? Was he, encouraging to, or was you just like, no, this is what we've done and we're going, full steam with it, full steam ahead as what we know it as.
I think we've got very lucky. So we record at Stage Two Studios with Josh Gallop. Um, and I think we've got very lucky in Josh Gallop in that we seem to creatively have the same sort of ideas, or ideas that bounce off of each other. So it's a really lovely process. Sort of, he will suggest things. He'll say, "Oh, maybe this sort of sound would sound really good," and we're always excited. And he's a great producer who doesn't. We worked with someone way back before we were even sure what the word producing meant. Where we'd ask if we could do things, and they'd say no. And I think that bottled down to, I don't know how to do it, so I'm not going to. But Josh is not that kind of person. Josh is the kind of person who says, even if it's something he maybe thinks won't work, he'll say, well, we'll try it. And if
Yeah.
it works, brilliant. If it doesn't, then maybe we can find another way of something similar that does. So he's an absolute dream to work with. Um, I think no, I don't think I think you will always have a perfect idea of what a song will sound like, but that's never going to be the reality. You have to accept that there will be differences and things will change. Even down to like if you come up with something on a guitar, you'll bring it into the room and the drum beat will be completely different. It'll change the energy of the song completely, and that's not all a bad thing. That's just part of the process, and that can improve what you thought you had in your head
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, sure. Okay. No, that's really good to hear, and really good as well to hear that there's a great producer that you guys there are working with, because I have heard a few sort of stories in the past where it hasn't quite worked out
All
and
right, yeah.
people disappointed. So always quite like to know in that, and sort of making sure, that ultimately you guys obviously putting the music out for us to hear to, and obviously ultimately, yeah, do you know what, we were 100% happy with what went on.
Mm.
So one of the tracks that I have to ask you about, is called Bitter Things. I remember going through at the time that it was being released and not being a massive fan of Snakes. That did put me off a little bit, I have to
Oh
say.
no.
That did make me jump. I wasn't expecting that on a Tuesday afternoon or whenever it was. I was
Sorry
watching
about
coming
that.
through. It was in break in case anyone from work is tuning into this episode.
Mm,
But just kind of like obviously, so the snake, as I say, he's on the front cover. He's in the bath, and all of that sort of good stuff. So obviously, you had a music promo video as well with that. So what was the inspiration and the thinking behind that?
I think so. Um, the snake himself is called Rick. I had a ridiculous full name. It's something like Rick, Destroyer of Worlds and Lover of Inconvenient Truths, because he likes to wrap around things and then you can't get him out for love nor money.
Yeah,
But he, I always find artwork for singles and EPs something that I come to after the fact and try and sort of make the music and the image marry up in my head. And I'd gone through I don't know how many different things. I think I tried to take a picture of a lemon that would look interesting because lemons are bitter, because that's the kind of 5-year-old logic that I use in my creativity. But I had this image from when I had I bathed him, and he was livid about the fact that he'd been put in this cold, well, not fully cold, but lukewarm water.
yeah,
And um, there was just something about the image that sort of gave me that like real cold early 2000s where everything had that blue filter feel.
yeah,
Um, so it just sort of it worked in my head, um, that like he was bitter about being in the bath, so it's bitter things. So it makes sense. Um, I think in a perfect world we would have managed to get a full music video of some sort together for that. But Rick did okay in a pinch, I thought. But yeah, it wasn't. I think it's like any owner of any pet. I think you forget that maybe the rest of the world doesn't see your pet in the same way.
I must admit they never used to really bother me, but my missus has got a massive fear, and I think that's kind of
Right, okay.
on me a little bit. So I'm getting better. I've got a little and where we go to Sea Life Centre. She's always in there looking at them. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's break the barriers are breaking down slowly, but
Yeah.
but just sort of it's probably quite a difficult question really to ask because obviously you've been sort of releasing music now for the best part of about 15, 18 months or so.
Mm.
But do you think have there been any like defining moments in your musical journey so far that made you think, do you know what, we as the Bedside Morale, we're onto something here? Or do you think that maybe that's still to come?
Um, I mean, anytime my partner's just absent-mindedly singing one of the songs that I've written, that's always like one of those moments of like, oh, this is a real thing that's out in the real world. It's not um in my head. I think anytime anyone's played it on a radio, it's that sort of getting your head around the fact that it's not just this internal thing that you have saved to your phone. It's actually out there in the world, and that's been really nice. There have been some really lovely things said by various people around. Um, so I think it's been lots of little things. I'd struggle to, off the top of my head, think of anything massive that's happened. Um, but there have been lots of really lovely little things. I think Bitter Things was played on BBC Introducing, which is always a big one.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, any time someone's supported or shared it or said that they enjoyed it, that's been the real big thing for me.
Yeah, sure. Okay,
Um,
lovely. So, let's move away from the studio.
mhm.
We're going to talk a little bit about playing live. You've obviously got a couple of dates coming up first in the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks or so. Actually, less than that to be fair, about two or
Yeah,
three weeks actually. In
yeah,
fact, first of all, you're supporting Adult Leisure. on the 29th of August at Dare Shack in Bristol. And then on the 14th of September, you are playing the Rock Against Cancer Festival at the King Arthur in Glastonbury. And again, we'll put those links up in
Amazing.
the episode bio as well. So, how excited are you for those two shows?
We've been absolutely dying to play a show for the past sort of 4 months, to be perfectly
Yeah.
honest. But I think it's been good. It's been good that we've had the time to really sort of make sure that we are sort of slick with it and we have a really good set and a really good show. And I think it's given us the time to build that and know that we're going into it confident. But yeah, we cannot wait. Both Charlie and myself absolutely adore Adult Leisure and everything they put out. They are an incredible band and they're an incredible live band. We got to see them on their last hometown show in the Exchange, and it was just mind blowing. Um, and then yeah, Rock Against Cancer is always great. It's exciting that it's at the King Arthur now in Glastonbury because that's a really cool venue. But yeah, we can't wait to get out there. And I think our drummer will start throwing sticks at us if we don't start playing shows, to be perfectly honest, which is fair enough.
Brilliant. Okay, and I have to echo your very kind words there about Adult Leisure as well. Haven't unfortunately been able to catch them live yet, but yeah, big fan of what they've done and what they are doing. So yeah, good luck with both dates. But what I would like to know is for those people that are going to either show or perhaps someone who hasn't maybe decided to buy a ticket yet. Why should they come and see the Bedside Morale? What can they expect from your set?
All the songs on the EP plus a couple of brand new things that haven't even been recorded yet, but we're excited to showcase because we can't we're rubbish at hiding things like that from people. I know that there's a degree of you should probably keep it secret and then it hits hard, but no. Um, and then just like a sincerely like excited band to be on stage and to be happy to be there. Um, I think my big thing is that we are a supporting band, so we're there to get you as excited for the main act as possible, and I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, brilliant, lovely. So as I say, those ticket links for both shows will be in the episode bio. So do please go and help buy a ticket for those events because sounds exciting and obviously it helps all the artists
Hmm.
that are performing on the show. But have you guys got any, or have you probably personally, Tim, I should really ask really, do you have any pre-show rituals or sort of routines to maybe try and get you into the zone?
Uh, I think one thing I'm really trying to do is look after my voice before a show because I don't have any training, so I know that if I don't, the first few songs of the set are like way up there, and I'll blow my voice, and then you'll have to sit right with your ear next to me for the rest of the show because it'll be at whisper um, volume. But there was a brief period where in an old band we tried. I saw Hugh Laurie play ages ago in Bristol, and he'd stolen a trick from like old New Orleans jazz bands where they'd have a shot of whiskey before the set and toast the crowd.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought that was a great idea. So we do shots of, I think it was Fireball whiskey, which was a terrible idea. I think I'm trying to avoid drinking on stage from here on in because it leads to bad things. But I think it's something I'd love to bring in, and it's something I'd love to develop, or that I again have this sort of romantic view of, but we'll have to see what happens when we start playing.
Well, there you go. That's another reason to buy a ticket just to find out what the ritual may well be
Yeah.
coming up. But sort of set the scene for us as well. Can you maybe share like a memorable experience from one of your live shows at all? You just said they haven't played in about sort of 4 or 5 months, so obviously trying to go back maybe a little bit.
Yeah, so it would probably be a previous band. I remember in a previous band we played a show in Southampton and there was this sort of old school punk guy, full mohawk. And the band on before us was playing, and he just was staring at the lead singer like he'd said something bad, and he just dove at him. And then suddenly this fight broke out, and the crowd had to claw this guy off of the lead singer and pull him outside. Um, so that was an interesting one to follow. It was a good show after that. It was just an interesting atmosphere. Um, I think there have been a couple of occasions hearing people sing back your songs to you is a weird thing, but it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I'm excited to see what comes of this band because I think it's the most um exciting musically and the most like I can feel that if we do it right and if we get it right, crowds will react in the way that we want, and that's an exciting thing to be on the cusp of.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Okay, so just sort of really want to ask you, what sort of impact do you feel that social media has played in the musical journey of the Bedside Morale so far, and sort of how have you balanced that with being creative?
I think social media is a difficult one. I was actually talking to a friend about this morning, about how and I'm absolutely a victim of this. People will blame social media for a lot of the things that you see, but actually it's just a tool and it's the way that people use it. But
Yeah.
I think there is an unfortunate culture around the way we use social media at the moment of jumping on bandwagons.
Hmm.
Um, so social media has been amazing for us in terms of outreach and reaching out to people. We had someone comment on some of our stuff who I think said they were from Peru, which was mad. It's
Oh,
mad that you can reach people across the other side of
yeah.
the world who speak a completely different language. But I think I struggle with wanting to have things on there that feel like they're creative or feel like they are well polished, but that's not always possible. And we're a brand new band and we don't have the funds and the and sort of looking at other like famous big bands and being jealous is effectively what it is. So I think that's something I struggle with. But I think what I have found is what is more fulfilling is doing something that I believe is creative or putting something out there that I'm happy I've done something creative with, not just trying to sort of do things to get views or to get likes or to get engagement. And that's a bit counterintuitive for us trying to be a band, trying to get fans and followers. But I think in the long run, when I'm on my deathbed, I'd rather look back and say I actually tried to do something than I played the game that everyone else was playing or just tried to follow what other people were doing. Also, sorry if you can hear a train going past in the background. We live by the railway, so
No, I can't hear anything at the
oh,
minute.
that's fine then.
Thank you for the warning in case there was. But yeah, I mean that's quite interesting, really, because one of the things I sort of find is that sometimes it almost seems to be like for me, it should be about the music,
Mm,
right? And yeah, there is a little bit that is quite nice to know, the stories behind the people in the band and stuff like that if they're doing videos like that. But some of the stuff that I have seen in the past, where, I don't know, someone's cooking or something like that that's got nothing to do with the band at all.
yeah.
That that side of it, I really really struggled to get my head round, really, to be honest.
I think it's you're almost expected if you're on social media to not only be a musician but be a comedian, be an entertainer, be someone who's coming up with skits and sketches. And I
Yeah.
think I think that's where I really struggle because I'm not any of those things. I'm a musician. Um, and B, it feels um inauthentic to who I am or what
Yeah.
we are trying to put out there. And I wouldn't want to put stuff out there for the sake of being performative or for the sake of doing what other people are doing. But yeah, I think a decent amount of that came out of lockdown where people were
Mm.
finding any which way. And I think a lot of that has just sort of continued on bands showing like, I don't know, this is my favorite recipe. And I think it's not in itself a bad thing. I think it's when it's not done from a place of we're doing this because we genuinely like this recipe's great. We want to show you this recipe
Yeah.
or like, but when it's done from a sort of place of, well, I've seen another band do that, so maybe we'll try that and see
Yeah, we can
if
get
we
on
get
board.
anything back from it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, agree with you. Agree with you totally there on that. So, on every This Is the Music Meets podcast, we ask all of our guests a series of questions that are designed to be a little bit more light-hearted and hopefully help the listeners find out a little bit more about you, the artists. So the first question is, what artist on the sort of underground grassroots new music scene have you been checking out over the past 12 months?
I mean, we've already spoken about Adult Leisure, although they're on the cusp of not really being grassroots or under
Yeah.
any sort of radar. The new China Bears album is really good. I absolutely loved that when it came out. Um, there's a band called Sweet Juno who I just happened to stumble into the Exchange in Bristol on a night when they were playing, and absolutely fell in love with them. They're great. Um, trying to think.
It's almost one of them where it's quite difficult. I don't want to miss anybody out. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also this thing of these days you end up listening to like you'll catch a song, and I do always try and go and like find if there's an EP or an album, but you'll listen to a song, and there's probably tons of songs from tons of like low-key indie artists that I've listened to and gone, oh, I really love that, and saved it to my Spotify, and then completely forgotten who it is. Kimmy from London, who does more sort of EDM dance stuff. She's really good. Um, yeah, I'm sure there are plenty.
no,
Those
definitely.
those are the ones that come to mind.
Yeah, sure. No, okay. There's a couple there for myself to check out for sure. So looking forward to having a little listen to them at some point in the next couple of days. But what I would like to know is what are your three oh sorry, let me start that question again. What are your top three albums of all time?
Top three of all time. Um, Dinosaur Jr. just re-released Farm, which is my favorite of their albums.
Hmm.
I remember I used to see it in HMV all the time. It's got this like weird artwork with like these green tree men. And I for some reason it like my eyes would be drawn to it. I'd find it every time when I was just shuffling through CDs. And eventually I bought it and haven't looked back. Dinosaur Jr. are absolutely maybe my favorite band. The other band that would be vying for my top absolute favorite band is Big Thief, and their album Masterpiece is, well, it is a masterpiece. Adrienne Lenker has one of the most unique voices I think I've ever heard. She has such like there's no nothing separates the lyrics from what they are. They are just straight out there. It's full heart on your sleeve lyricism, and everything they do is just gold. So that's a big one. And third album, it might actually be what I consider to be the best live album that I've heard, which is Bleachers live at Radio City Music Hall.
Right.
He's just so excited the whole way through to be there, and it's just got such a like, it's what I want every live show to be, just like an absolute celebration, and everyone's running around the place excited. It's just an amazing live album.
Yeah, sure. I don't think anyone's ever chosen a live album before. Ask that question, so I'm pretty chuffed to actually have that as an
Okay.
answer. To be fair, so if you could collaborate with any artist, who would it be and why?
Billy Joel, because I love everything he does.
Yeah,
I think he is one of the greatest singer-songwriters that there has ever been. And I'd love to see what it's like to like create something with him. So
yeah.
yeah, hands down every time, Billy Joel.
Cool, loving that. That's a great answer. Um, if your van broke down in the middle of nowhere, which band member would you send to find help and why?
I have a terrible answer, which is Kynan because he has the most to lose because he's got two kids. So you know that he's going to definitely try and find out. Although he might just go home if he finds an opportunity. I wouldn't hate him for just being like, I'm going home to my kids. Fair enough. Um, no, I think it would be Kynan. He's got a good head on him, and I would trust him with my life. So yeah.
Okay, this one's a bit out there as well. If your band was a type of food, what would it be and why?
What would it be and why? Cool. I'm just thinking about all the food that I like now and not about what the band would actually be. Um, I think it would be something like simple, but like comfort food that maybe your mum would make. Not like a full roast, but something along those lines. Maybe like a nice pasta dish that maybe you is like a family recipe, but it's actually just a like spaghetti bolognese, and you've added some like oregano and rosemary. So it's not anything special. It's your family's, it's yours. It reminds you of home.
Brilliant, love that. So, what's the funniest or weirdest thing that's happened whilst you've been recorded in the studio?
In a previous band we were recording, I've got this Taiska guitar where the pickups are really hot, and if you have it loud enough, you can hear people talking. It picks up the voices. And Charlie was recording some slide guitar for a piece, and he just going into the chorus picks up the guitar and screams into it. And it made it onto the track. It's just an amazing little sound. So that's great. Somewhere in the background of Bitter Things at the end is the sound of Charlie's car that was dying. I think the like brake pads had got stuck on slightly or something, so it was making this horrible grinding sound whenever you
Yeah.
pulled away. That's in there somewhere. Um, I think that's one of the things I love about recording in the studio. There's always little moments that you don't expect that come in and become like a linchpin of a song.
Brilliant. Okay, so where do you see the Bedside Morale's music evolving sort of over the next sort of 12 months or so? Do you think you're going to sort of stick with the formula obviously that we've seen on the debut EP? Or are there sort of any, particular genres or maybe styles that you think, yeah, do you know what, we might sort of drift off into that for a while?
I think it's difficult to say. I think I'm a real sucker for being influenced by whatever the last thing I listen to is. So it there's a degree to which it depends on what I end up listening to and what I end up writing from it. But I think um thematically, lyrically, it will probably continue to be very much the same. I don't think that's going anywhere, but Aidan, our drummer, who joined in the past year, has brought a whole new life to everything we're writing, and we're able to push and sort of become a bit more complicated and a bit more intricate. So I think um, a lot more experimentation is what I would say.
Brilliant. Okay, that sounds really exciting and sort of mysterious as well. At the same time. But what are the Bedside Morale's plans for the rest of 2024? What can we expect from you guys?
Um, Playing as many shows as we can get our grubby little mitts on. Um, we're hoping to get back in the studio towards the end of the year to record some of the stuff that we've been writing. Um, and then yeah, that's pretty much all we want is shows and to write and record. So I think hopefully, yeah, the beginnings of a second EP, I think, is the aim for the end of this year.
Brilliant, great stuff. Well, it certainly sounds like it's going to be exciting and busy, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the fruits of your labour,
Mm.
as they say, at the end of all of that. But look, Tim, unfortunately, that is the end of This Is the Music Meets podcast. Thank you so much for coming on and being such a great guest. I've really enjoyed that. It's nice to get to sort of know a little bit more about the bedside morale and your journey so far. But before I do let you go, can you let the This Is the Music listeners know what social media platforms they can find you on?
Yeah, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we even have a TikTok, though I always forget it exists. Obviously Spotify, YouTube. We have Apple Music, though I always forget that exists as well. Um, but yeah, we're out there.
Brilliant, great stuff. We'll put those links in the episode bio, and you never know, you might see some interaction from the bedside morale
Do what you want.
at some point. And we would also, as well as we mentioned earlier, we'll put the link to the debut EP, Still Life, in there, and as well as the two gig ticket links as well for those upcoming shows in the bio. Tim, thank you very much for coming on, especially as we mentioned at the start there, it is a Sunday, so I do greatly appreciate you giving up your
Yeah, of
Sunday
course.
evening, and wish you all the best of luck, not just you, but obviously the band as well in the future.
No, you too. Thank you. This was lots of fun.
Oh, that wasn't meant to happen. Three, two, one. All that leaves me to say is to thank everyone for listening to the latest This Is the Music Meets podcast. Please subscribe so you never miss out on any brand new episodes. And if you're enjoying the podcast, show us some love by giving us a rating and written review, as it really does help the artist we interview to be discovered. If you are listening to this episode on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, then stay tuned, as at the end of this episode, you'll be able to hear Bitter Things that features on the Bedside Morale's debut EP, Still Life. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you very soon for another episode of the This Is the Music Meets podcast.